Okay. Hello. Welcome, everybody. It's good to see so many different locations all showing up here. I've got YouTube in the house. I see Facebook in the house. I think LinkedIn is here as well. Make sure if you can hear me, just let me know that you can hear me. And if for whatever reason there's any issues with the audio or the video or anything in between, you can let me know that. There is a special link that you can go to, brianmillerspeaks.com/BN Live for Beyond Networking Live, where you can actually join the conversation on screen if you'd like to in the second half of this. So hopefully we've got everybody here and you can all hear me well. I wanted to do a Thursday Thoughts live episode today, mostly because I ran out of time to film the episode that I normally post every week to my YouTube channel. I've been scrambling. For those of you who don't know, I'm sure many of you do, but my wife is 9 months pregnant. We are within 2 weeks of the due date now, which means the baby could come any day and it would be considered healthy. So I've been scrambling to write blogs and make videos and schedule them out in a queue for the next 4 to 6 weeks so that once the baby is here, I don't have to worry about the content creation insanity on a day-to-day basis. So I've been maintaining my weekly schedule, my daily schedule, running all my virtual events, and trying to build out a 4 to 6 week queue of content across 2 podcasts and 2 YouTube channels and multiple social medias and my weekly blog. So I ran out of time to film this week's Thursday Thoughts. What better than to do it live? And what a better time to do it than with the topic of this week, which is the pursuit of perfection. So I'm going to chat for the first few minutes here, kind of talk you through a few different thoughts. We're going to talk about perfection itself. We're going to talk about asymptotes and Zeno's paradox and the Uncanny Valley and authenticity and all kinds of interesting things. I'd love to have some of you join me live on screen for the discussion, so feel free to go to brianmillerspeaks.com/BNLive where you can actually join me in the second half for a conversation about this. All right, let's talk about perfection. So first a recollection. I remember this vividly. I walked out of a movie theater with my father, and once we were far enough away from the crowd so as not to spoil the experience for others. We started chatting about the movie, and it was a Hollywood blockbuster, and I was just like, oh man, what a trip. I can't believe how good the special effects were. And he's like, yeah, pretty wild, right? And I said, Dad, you work with supercomputers for a living and all that craziness. How much better can it really get? How much better can it really be? And he's like, what do you mean? And I was like, well, I mean the computer generated graphics. Like, how much better can CGI get? The special effects, like, there has to be a line somewhere between CGI, between computer graphics and reality that we can't cross, right? Like, in other words, at some point, it can only get so much more realistic, but there's got to be a line where it can't be real. This is real. A computer can't make it real. So somewhere there's got to be a line we can't cross eventually. And my dad's like, well, yeah, I mean, that's true, obviously, but, I don't think we're there yet. And I was like, I remember this. I remember going, well, we've got to be pretty close. I can't believe how realistic the special effects in that movie were. And what I'm talking about right now was, of course, pod racing. The year was 1999. The movie was Star Wars Episode 1, The Phantom Menace. That movie. The special effects can't get any better than this. So this is why I want to talk about the pursuit of perfection, right? It's easy to be bad at something. Right? It takes some effort to be good at it. Surprisingly little effort to be good at something, if we're being honest, right? Really easy to be bad. Surprisingly little effort to be good at something. Now, it's challenging to be great at something. There's a lot more effort that goes into being great. But it's impossible to be perfect. Right? It is impossible to be perfect. And that's really important. Somewhere between great and perfect, there's a line that we cannot cross, right? There's no such thing as perfection. And what's really crazy is the closer we get to perfection, the harder it is to keep getting closer to it. In fact, the closer we get to perfection, the further away we are from perfection. And that's why this is one of Zeno's paradoxes. If you probably read this in your intro philosophy 101 kind of class, but Zeno and his crazy paradoxes. This is an old thing. So imagine, here's one of Zeno's paradoxes. Imagine that you're standing on a spot and we've marked the line of the ground like 10 feet in front of you, exactly 10 feet in front of you. Now, in one step, you're supposed to travel to a spot halfway between you and the line. So one big step, right? How far have you gone? 5 feet, right? Between you and the line, it's 10 feet away. In one step, you've gone 5 feet. In other words, in one step, if the line is your goal, you've gone from bad to good in just one step, right? Minimal effort. One step gets you from bad to good. You're halfway to perfection. Now, we're going to try to get halfway closer to perfection again. So we take one more step. Now, how far have we gone? We've gone 2.5 feet, right? We've gone from good to even better. I don't know if we'd call it great yet, but maybe good to really good, right? So in one step, we went from bad to good. In 2 steps, we've gone to really good. Now, take one more step, split the difference. How far have you gone this time? Only 1.25 feet, right? Now you're a little bit better than you were before, but the key here is that you're starting to notice something, that even though you're a little bit better now, this step only takes you a little way. So despite your improvement, your progress actually feels like it's slowing down, right? Does that make sense? Each step you take, your progress feels like it's slowing down. So the next step takes you to it takes you another 0.625 feet, then 0.3125 feet, and so on and so forth. So each step you take at this point makes you only slightly better than you were before. And yet, you get further and further and further away from perfection the closer you get to it. And you realize at some point, you're never going to get to that line. If you keep going halfway, getting a little bit better, right, half better, over and over and over again, you're literally never going to get to that line. It's not possible. And so perfection is an asymptote, which is a mathematical term that denotes a line that you can never reach no matter what. A line you can never reach no matter what. And I've got where is it? I've got somewhere here. Math is fun. Right here. Well, that's a great image, Brian. Way to go. Right there. These are three different asymptotes in case you're not a math person. So it's where there's a line that the graph will get closer and closer and closer to, infinitely closer to, but will never actually touch, no matter what. On into infinity, you'll never touch it, right? Perfection is an asymptote. So when you're engaged in a work task, or you're trying to improve your personal life, your relationship with your spouse, or you're working on your social skills, the question is, how good is good enough, right? How good is good enough? So let's talk about the Uncanny Valley. I'd love to know in the chat if anybody has ever heard of the Uncanny Valley before. The Uncanny Valley is this very strange thing that people who work in special effects or CGI talk about. See, modern special effects, CGI, are incredibly impressive, at least when it comes to things, buildings, spaceships, storms, or even animals, really, which aren't things, but they're non-human. But human faces remain a problem, even as good as special effects are in 2020. It's really impressive what they can do. If you've ever looked at a still image of a CGI face, you'd be really hard-pressed to distinguish these days between the CGI face and the real thing. It's when they're in motion that we can tell something's wrong, right? There's something not right. We can't put our finger on it, but there's just something off about a CGI face when it's moving. It looks perfect, but I can't tell. I can tell that it's not real, right? There's just a red flag that goes up. I've got a great example here. I love this, by the way. The Uncanny Valley. Thanks, Ben. Thanks for bringing us all up from there. And hey, Gertrude, good to hear from you. It's so lovely to hear from you. Good to see you. I hope you are doing well. So and I see, Gertrude, that you asked about the baby. Almost, not here yet. Almost here. We'll get to that. Thank you for asking, though. I want to show you my favorite image of the Uncanny Valley. This is from the movie The Polar Express, and this is what we're talking about. At the time, the Polar Express was unprecedented triumph in computer graphics, and they were trying to make realistic humans in the Polar Express. And the thing is, at that point, we had done human faces before, but never tried to do them seriously, never tried to do them realistically, right? Like you think about Toy Story, the people look like cartoons. They don't look like people. They don't even resemble actual people. So it doesn't bother us. But this, it's close. It's close to what a real person looks like, but there's just something off about it, and it triggers our brain, and it just says, I don't understand what I'm looking at here, but it's weird. It creeps you out, right? There's something very unsettling about that slightly off but very close to perfection face. And the point that I'm making here is that when you bump up on perfection, the closer you get to it, the more obvious it is that you haven't hit it. And this is the problem, right? In 1999, computer-generated people were easier to enjoy when they didn't actually look like real people. There was nothing to stop your brain from suspending disbelief and just going along for the ride. But in 2020, when CGI people are just shy of being real, like stuff you've seen in the movies this year, you can't stop noticing that it's fake because it's so close that whatever's missing is more obvious and it takes you out of the movie. So the last thing I want to talk about here regarding perfection is that it's better to pursue authenticity than it is to pursue perfection. This is something that my TEDx students discover. I do some coaching on the side for TEDx students, help them prepare for their talks. I've got actually a full calendar of speaking students right now, which is crazy. I've got a mastermind running plus 3 or 4 different individual TEDx students who are all giving their talks in the next 3 weeks, which is good timing because once the baby's here, I'm sure I will be less helpful as a coach on the no sleep that I'm told I'm going to be getting. So my TEDx students discover something about the Uncanny Valley, which is really interesting, which is I make my students rehearse their talks dozens of times. In fact, Gertrude is one of my, who's here in the chat, is one of my TEDx clients from last year. And she remembers that I really insist on over-rehearsing. And there comes a point when my students have memorized their talk that they get worried. They finally memorized it, and then they say to me, it feels robotic. I feel like now I'm just reciting words and I don't feel like a real person. There's no emotion left. See, the words are right, but the performance is there, but there's something off. There's something wrong. And that's when my students get frustrated. They say, it was better when I was just speaking from the heart. Why did you make me memorize this? Now it sounds robotic. And my advice is always this. The key to rehearsing a speech is not to practice until you've got it memorized. That's the beginning. It's to practice, to rehearse through that point until you've internalized it, until it becomes a part of you. Then and only then do the memorized words and rehearsed movements get out of the way, and you simply become a vessel for the message. So whatever your pursuit, whether it's a new skill for a job or connecting with others, working on learning an instrument, strive to internalize the process, not to master it. Then you will realize that perfection was never the goal anyway. It's unattainable, so why bother? When we pursue internalizing the process, when we pursue authenticity, we realize that that's actually what people want from us anyway, because perfection isn't even relatable. A teacher of mine once said, humans have an acute bullshit detector. Sorry for the language out of nowhere, but human beings have an acute nonsense detector, right? The goal is not to be perfect. It's to be perfectly authentic. If only The Phantom Menace had actually been a promise of better movies to come. So Gertrude, that's very, very kind of you. Thank you. Oh boy, I'd love to catch up with you. We should do that soon, especially before the baby comes. Now, at this point, for whoever's still here, I'd love to take any questions, conversations, discussion points, toss them into the chat, or go to that link that I shared earlier. You can jump on screen with me on camera. We can have a little chat, a little conversation. I've blocked off 30 minutes for this live stream, and we're about halfway through that, so I've got another 15 minutes. Also, let me know at any point if the audio has blipped in and out, if I ever froze at any point, because we're having some issues with internet in our community, and I had Comcast over earlier today to look at it, and they're monitoring our internet now, and they said to text them the second I have any of these blips or intermittent internet issues. So if that should happen while we're here live, let me know so I can let them know right away. Idealist, always repping my friends at Idealist. I have no I have no stake in them whatsoever, but they're a global nonprofit anyway. But idealist.org, if you're not familiar with them, you should definitely check it out. Ben Train, turn your camera on. Click that link, turn your camera on, and come say hello, my friend. I haven't seen you. I haven't interacted with you in a long, long time, man. You got a philosophy. You got a master's in philosophy, right? Plus, you're a magician and you've shifted virtual. Let's talk about perfection and the pursuit of perfection and Zeno's paradox and asymptotes and just what you're up to lately. Come on, click that link in the brianmillerspeaks.com/BN live and just come on screen. You're on screen all the time. You're probably in pajamas. That's why I know you're in pajamas and you don't want to have to change and get all set up. If Jonah's there, tell him to get on too. Tell them all to come on here. Hey, Brian Rogers. Sounds good on my mobile date on my phone. Great points and advice. Keep it up. Brian, another one of my old friends in magic. Brian Rogers, we filmed for 2 straight days, for 2 8-hour days. And, Ben Train is here. That's so exciting.
I have to turn off the Facebook chat.
Yes.
There we go. So we don't have the echo. How you doing, buddy?
Man, I'm doing well. What a miracle, this world that we live in, that we can do this, right?
I heard somebody say that we are so lucky and blessed that this is happening now and not even 10 years ago, because 10 years ago, they were still playing with all the tech stuff and we wouldn't be able to do these live videos, certainly not conference calls with multiple cameras or live stream shows. It's great.
Seriously, and I'm going to say how lucky that it's not even just 3 years ago, because the technology was there, but the average person did not have the bandwidth the internet to do it. Like I did because I was running a business. You probably did, but the average person that was just doing normal work, even 3 years ago, didn't have the ability to do this, to keep a stream
We
going.
didn't have the capability to do it even at the beginning of March of this year. We actually had to get a Wi-Fi extender. We had to buy a new computer and other stuff. But I mean, the tech is there. So like,
Yeah.
thankfully we were able to do it.
I know it's a miracle. Have you gone to multicams for your magic shows yet? Because I'm running the A10 mini and everything now, and it's a miracle.
Yeah, we went to multi-camera and now we're back to a single camera. We look at it's a balance, right? Where we want to have all the tech in place to make the show as good as possible, but we also want to minimize the risk of like one thing crashing and a domino effects. Like if anybody's using online tech now, you have like eCam doesn't work and suddenly your camera image isn't up and the audio's not coming through and you're like, what is, it sucks.
I hear you. I filmed the other day. I made what I think is going to be a cool video for anybody, but mostly for my prospects and clients. I filmed a massive behind the scenes video. Here's what it takes to produce a world-class, high production value virtual magic experience. And because I don't think people have any idea, and I think people just like magic, knowing a little bit about how some things work gives them a better appreciation for the thing itself.
For sure.
And as I was making that video of all the different things, in my head I'm going, oh my God, there are so many places something can go wrong. Like,
they're just... a friend of mine who gave a talk on how to troubleshoot and prevent error from happening at the show. And so one of the things he talked about was you connect with an Ethernet cable rather than relying on Wi-Fi. And he gave all these talks. And then I attended his first show and it all went wrong. And it's like, that's, for whoever's watching who doesn't know who I am, that's probably a good thing because you have better things to do with your life. But I run a company that produces live events. And so, going on stage, it's certainly, we didn't run into the same frequency of issues that we ran into at the beginning of setting up virtual shows because this was a very new world to us. But even doing live shows, you have troubleshooting with lights or tech or mics that aren't working or something that goes wrong. So, I feel like we had a little bit of experience dealing with it. But yeah, we went from a bunch of cameras to one. We simplified some of our tech setup because we just tried to think like, what makes the best possible show? What's necessary? And one of the things that was really nice that we found, and maybe you'll talk about this, is how easy it is, I think personally, to set up a world-class professional shooting studio. A ring light costs you under $100. You already have a good camera on your phone or your laptop. You can certainly invest in another camera, but you don't need extra special lights. You don't need a full sound studio. Like there's things you can keep getting.
Yeah, that's so. I agree with you. I was I want to say disappointed in many of our
good setups. I'm in my bedroom right now, people. I didn't know it was going to be on a video.
No, this is great. This is great. Nobody ever does, but I love this. So no, that's the truth, is that I was disappointed in many of our industry colleagues, comrades, at the beginning of this, who just seemed to refuse to invest the really minimal effort today to go what I was just talking about. It was like one step to go from bad to good and one more step to go from good to great. And once you were there, you could just get off and running. And I've spent I'm a tech guy and I'm an audio guy and all this stuff. So I've spent the last 6 months taking those tiny little Zeno paradox steps towards perfection, right? And I care about that. I think what most people get hung up on, and maybe it's a bias because I'm an audio guy and I have an audio background, but people get hung up on the audio, and that is for most people the most difficult thing. It's easy to have bad audio. It's very hard to have great audio, especially like this is one thing. People have mostly figured out how to at least get a microphone. I mean, this is a fancy setup, but at least a USB mic that plugs in and do this. But during a magic show, you don't want a mic in front of your face, and that's when people get hung up because lav mics are a disaster. They're not good. They're easy, but they have a lot of issues with bounce and omnidirectional stuff, and they sound weird and muffled because you've never listened to anybody with your ear sitting on their chest. That's why lav mics sound weird. We don't listen to people like that. it's not set up right now, but I use actually, it is set up right now because it's always set up. I just swung it back. I have a boom mic a shotgun mic that I use for the magic shows. Let me switch. It should all be on.
Show us your tech.
Okay, so yep, there you go. So I just switched to the overhead, and it sounds a little different, a little bit roomier, right? Because I'm not using the close thing anymore. But this is pretty good, and actually having a little bit of room noise means when I'm doing the magic show, if I shuffle cards, you actually hear it as opposed to the really isolated audio, which is kind of a weird sensation because I realized early on I was doing really isolated audio. I was using my headset mic like I used to wear on stage, like my E6, and or I tried a lav mic, and all of that stuff is great for live stage performances because you still hear the rest of the stuff in the room. But on virtual, they couldn't even hear the card shuffling when they were 12 inches away on the table. And that wasn't a very inviting experience. And so I realized that by using an overhead mic, actually a little bit of room noise, and I'm in a fully treated home studio. So I have no echo to begin with.
Some of the stuff you're saying, well, it absolutely improves the quality of the show. I mean, anybody who is listening to this, who is thinking about jumping on the producing virtual content show, I think like so many things in life, get out there. Don't let perfection stand in the way of doing it. If you have a camera, even if you don't have a mic, even if you don't have a ring light, even if you don't have, the right studio setting yet, you do it. You do your first show. Then you look at the video footage and you go, wow, all my cards were washed out. I wasn't properly lit. I'm going to invest in a ring light. And then you look at your background and you go, wow, it looks really cluttered and messy. Maybe like right now, we're in the middle of redesigning the background of our set because we know the layout. We purchased the stuff we wanted for the room, but it's like a step-by-step process. But I think people would be they overestimate how much they need to get started, and I think they let them hold it back. And I think there's a lot of people who can't see the difference between things that are urgent to deal with and things that might be good for like future projects. Like it would be nice to have 4 monitors set up and have like a mic for your guests and X, Y, and Z. And then you're like, yeah, but I don't even have any guests yet. Like, what are my immediate needs? What do I do to launch right away? Let me look at my product. Let me evaluate it. And then let me fix it to make it better.
So I love that you're saying that. This is such a good point. So done is better than perfect, right? This is a really good mantra to live by. And it's hard because most people that struggle with that, they struggle because they care about the quality. And that's why they struggle with that, right? And so done is better than perfect. And right now what magicians and comedians and musicians and all the different types of people are discovering is the reason they're getting hung up in their head and they're having trouble jumping in here, like you're saying, is because they're going, I've been a magician for 10 years, 20 years, whatever it is, and I had my show down, and now it all is bad and it doesn't work and I don't understand this tech. And they're thinking that in their first show, it should be the virtual equivalent of as good as their show they've been doing for 20 years in the real world is. It's like, no, you're starting over. You're at zero again. So you have to be a beginner again. This is a totally new medium. So, and you didn't build that show in one day. You built it over 20 years. Start again.
But I think that also, like, I will also say that you have an advantage, obviously, if you've been doing something 20 years. Like, I know as a performer, when I'm on stage, one of the things that determines how successful my show was whether I was able to sort of establish a rapport with the audience, feel like we've connected, make some sort of eye contact with people in the group. And there's certainly nights where I come out and I jump right into my stuff and I never establish that connection. And then I realize halfway through the show, people don't care. And I'm like, shit. And like, but knowing something like that means that I know that, like, when I look right now in the camera, I feel like I'm making eye contact with everybody who's watching this right now. So anytime where I'm in my head going, oh, I forgot, I should be establishing a connection with my audience, instead of having to look out and try to establish a connection with 300 people in a room, you get to just go, oh yeah, listen, I want you, now we're back in that moment.
Yeah.
And there's things that I can do, like if I'm performing for you and I see a chat with lots of people, I can engage with someone who looks disengaged, so like there's all sorts of techniques that I can use as a performer. And I think the excuse that people made right at the beginning, the 2 excuses I heard was, number one is I've already, this is a totally new medium. I don't want to start learning. And I think that is a terrible excuse because everybody knows how to use a computer for the most part. People are posting those comments on Facebook while they're watching other people's live streams. They're going on Zoom calls. So they know how the technology works so they can do it. And the second thing is people were complaining about the quality of the shows having to go down because virtual shows aren't as good. And I think, like, I'm sure people who when they first started making films in the 1880s, the photographers of the time were like, oh, it's going to ruin the medium because pictures were designed to be stared at in, you know, one form. And that happens. And I'm not saying that a virtual show is the same as a live experience, but it certainly can be a fun and amazing and pleasant experience. And I'll be honest, I'm enjoying doing the virtual shows more than I was doing some of the live shows recently.
I agree with you. That last point is so funny. You almost feel bad saying it, don't you?
No, I love it. The world, like, we keep hearing companies and industries, like, we're looking at how our world is changing. How can we live better, happier, more productive lives that are better for the environment, X, Y, and Z? And then we're like, wait a minute, maybe we don't all need to commute to work. Maybe our lives don't have to involve 2 hours of rush hour traffic every day. And maybe we can work from our patios or with our dogs in our lap and work remotely. And if that's the case, and it seems like more and more companies are going to be doing that and industries are going to be moving that direction, if that's the case, then virtual shows are going to be here for a while, even though live shows will come back. And I'm like, this is a new world. It's a new medium. We're going to do, if you're looking at, like, how do I take my live show and transform it to do this? I think it's a mistake. I think this is a new medium, and it might mean taking some of your existing things and modifying them and transforming them, but it's a new medium. You get to do new fun stuff, engage in new ways. Yeah, I dig it, man. I dig it. I can't wait to see what we're going to do.
I have had more fun because, you know, as you know, and anybody watching this knows, I sort of retired from full-time magic 4 or 5 years ago as my career shifted at speaking, and I still accepted the gigs. I just wasn't promoting them. So people who still knew me, I did them, and got really picky, and that was great for me. I got to get really picky about which gigs and only choose the ones that were the right fit for me and my type of material. But it's so funny. I just posted this yesterday, you know, a new teaser video for my virtual shows because we're all starting to post those right now that we've done them for a few months, and we actually can make these teasers again. And
we're still doing mostly private events. We're still not up there yet. I think, good for you. You're doing the public now. That's great.
Well, no, I mean, I haven't done a single public event, and I have no intention of doing public events, but
you're talking about getting out there for the private stuff.
Yeah, so I mean, as long as I'm doing private and exclusive and kind of corporate events and things like that, you know, my content creation is my whole business these days. Right. I mean, it's just I'm visible every possible place you could find someone. I'm there doing it regularly. So I wanted to make sure there was a teaser video, and as I was making it, I realized that what I had done over the last 6 months was exactly what you just said. At the beginning, I tried what we all did. We had to panic and immediately find a way to make some money, and because we didn't know would we be able to sustain this, what's coming in the future. So I put a webcam up, got a decent microphone, and I just kind of did a webcam version of my show because that's what I had. I had a show I'd been doing for 15 years, and it was really good. And as I was doing the first one, just the first one, I was like, 80% of this material doesn't work anymore. Like, and not just it doesn't work, but no matter how much I try to fit this square peg into this round hole, it's not going to work. I can make it work a little bit better, but I started to, in between every show, do more work on magic than I've done in ages. I started to learn new magic again, go back to old random books that people have forgotten about and go, what can I do that would not just survive this medium, but actually take advantage of it? What are the types of tricks I've never been able to do on a stage because I'm too far away and people can't see it, but I can give people a close-up cam of my hands, and I would never let people get 6 inches from my hands. I'd be like, get away from me. Totally. But they can now.
Totally. And I think that that's so amazing that you've embraced the freedom and the creativity that this new format brings. One of the things we did really early on was we made a big public announcement through our company that we finally purchased our own magic theater. And we got all these people, and then we showed a video of it. And what we had done is we took a cardboard box, and I may have had a few drinks, and then I built a little theater. So I took red curtain, and I made the curtains, and I made spotlights, and I made hardwood floors out of popsicle sticks and trapdoors and all this stuff. But what we now had was a camera that could shoot into our little private theater, and our hands could come out dressed like tuxedos, and we could do miniature close-up tricks. So, and we started playing with things that in the magic world, we talk about our magic drawers, these junk drawers filled with tricks we bought when we were 16 or 10 or 20 when we first started that we thought looked really cool, but then you realize nobody's going to carry around this plastic little box and these weird fake swords. And then suddenly we can do them again. And so I've been rolling out tricks that I look at, and if I look at them and I go, this is really nifty, and it makes my heart skip a beat because it's so fun and exciting, I'm like, I'm going to find a way to share this in a show. And the worst case scenario is that people go, well, that was weird. Like, just know for the next show, like, who cares?
And thank you, Brian Rogers, for Ben. Do you know Brian Rogers? You must know, or at least know.
I think we met on JDate, the Jewish dating service. He was very persistent. And Brian messaged me again. I'm in now, buddy.
That's very funny. I met Brian Rogers when I was in college, and he was filming for magicians, and I filmed a full 2-disc magic video that we pitched to Murphy's, and they didn't want it, and that was the end of it. So anyway, so
what? You pitched the project and they said no? I didn't know that. It was
crazy.
Projects.
It was crazy. You know what happened?
Somewhere.
He must have it, but I mean,
release it now.
I would never release it now. I mean, Brian Rogers, if he ever needed to blackmail me, would blackmail me by releasing it. But you know what's funny is that all the material, really proud of it. It's still killer material, even though I was young and it clearly wasn't workshopped as much as now I would expect. Right. Because I was 20 or 20. I was 21, I guess. Yeah, 21, 22. But nonetheless, the material was great. What Murphy said, and I'm not throwing them under the bus. What they said at the time is they said, right now, this was 2009, 2010. They said, oh no, earlier than that. Anyway, somewhere around there.
Nobody likes Rubik's Cubes.
Well, no, there was nothing with Rubik's Cubes on there, but that's funny though. People are still saying that. It's amazing. What they said was everything is shifting to one-trick digital downloads, and we produced this 2-disc DVD with all these tricks and the theory behind them, the way that they used to make them, like Jay Sankey and Richard Sanders and David Acker, Michael Amar even. Like, I produced one of those right at the end of when that was popular, right. As the one-trick DVD with no theory behind it was what was popular. They said, I don't think we can sell this with all the fluff, like all the theory that actually matters. Nobody's buying that right now. And I'm not sure if it's come back from that, to be honest, in all these years. I mean, oh my God, look at this. I still have it. That's very sad. That's very sad for me anyway. Yes, that's the name of a trick that was on there, and I still know how to do that trick. And 2010, there you go. So Brian just coming in with the blackmail. So yeah,
one of the projects that I really enjoyed that not enough people, I think, I wish more people made projects like this. It was Francis Minotti, a wonderful performer from Philadelphia, and he released, I believe, with P3, he released a DVD that was 2 parts. The first was him, or 3 parts rather. The first was him performing his full live act in front of a lay audience. So it was like a 45-minute show. And then the second thing was his explaining the tricks and also talking about theory. But then the third thing was rewatching that whole act, but with his commentary over top, talking about his thoughts as a performer and why he was making choices in real time. And I was like, wow, I would love to know, like, why did this guy make this joke? Why did he target, or when I say target, but why did he use this person and not this person? Like, what was happening in real time? And so, yeah, I wish that there were more projects that talk about theory and thought. But
and that's the real work. You know what I've been reading recently is I have one of the this is a little humble brag, but it's not really, because you'll see why in a second. I have a copy of one of the rarer books in magic, which is I have an original copy of Our Magic.
Oh, wow.
And it's not humble brag because
I the book and I pulled it off my shelf, but I do not.
Yeah, you mean this one?
I do not have a first edition copy of Our Magic.
Do you really?
No, I do not.
Oh, you don't. Oh, you don't. I was. You know what's funny is I have a copy of Absolute Magic and Pure Effect, and I've always been really proud of having. I'm sure you do. Yeah, it's right there, right? There you go. Some of these great books, but I've been reading Our Magic, which my little brother, he's 20 27 now, so he's not little anymore, but he was only probably 22 at the time, or even younger, maybe 21, 20. And he found, because he lives in Seattle, and that's where the oldest magic shop in the U.S. is, right? It's right there in the market in what's it in Seattle, the famous fish market. Anyway,
Oh, I didn't know this. I didn't know this.
yeah, oldest magic shop in the U.S. is in Seattle, and if you go in there, the woman who owns it, she took it over from the original owner or whatever, and basically what happened is it's a magic shop. It's a real magic shop, and I mean, you go in, it's tiny little cupboard kind of a thing. It's a real magic shop. They don't do a lot of touristy stuff there, and so occasionally she has trouble making ends meet, paying the rent, and so what she does is she takes some of her own books out of her own collection that she's inherited from multiple generations of magicians, and she puts them up for sale in the shop. No fanfare, just puts them in the bookcase with all the other normal books. And my little brother, at one point I had visited him, and we were in that shop, and I saw it and I took it out, and the price tag was outrageous. And I think I just muttered to myself, man, I'd love to own this book, but the price is ridiculous. And I just put it back, and I'm like, oh, I can't believe that book is here. And 6 months later, for my birthday, in the mail shows up Our Magic. My little brother, who at the time could not have afforded this book. I have no idea how he pulled it off.
This isn't going to turn into like a crime and punishment story, is he?
No, that's it. He scrounged up the money, and he sent it to me I have a big age gap with both of my younger siblings, and he sent it with like a thank you for everything you've done for me over the years. He was graduating college at the time, and he just remembered it, noticed it. He told me later, he goes, I dropped you off at the airport. He drove me back to the airport. He goes, I dropped you off and drove from the airport back to that shop and bought it in that moment, and I've been holding it for 6 months until your birthday. So it was.
I'm not even joking right now. This year for my birthday, my brother gave me a library book, and I told me I had to take it back. That's your brother bought you a beautiful magic book, and I got a library book I had to take back. What? Aaron,
that's probably better than anything Jonah ever bought you. Is Jonah there?
Jonah has bought me nice presents. I can't think of any right now, but Jonah has bought me nice presents.
That's good. That's good. Brian Rogers. Thanks so much for being here, Brian. I appreciate it. He's got to run. Possible to watch this later. Yeah. Oh, yeah. It'll be available wherever you're watching it right now. It'll just be available.
I actually have to run too because I have another show that's starting in 10 minutes. But I love
it.
I love your stuff. You know, I'm a big fan. And by the way, for those who are listening who haven't read his book, it really, 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 I don't want to get the title wrong. 3 New People. Is that right?
It is 3 New People. Yeah.
3 New People. I recommend it all the time. I am obviously very loud, and the chapter about Lindsay and you communicating, and about how introverts and extroverts maybe communicate, really changed my perspective on a lot of things. So I love you. Thank you. Thank you. And I'm going to send you a message after this, and let's connect and do something.
We should absolutely do that. Good luck on your show. Break a leg, man. Thanks so much for being here.
See you guys soon.
All right. Oh, man. Well, that was great. Ben, I'm so glad Ben was able to be here, and we had a few folks. I've been on a good 10 minutes longer than I originally expected to. I think we're probably dwindling, so I will just make one little note here, which is anybody who is interested, you can actually head to Beyond Networking Podcast. When I do these Beyond Networking live streams, these are kind of an extension of my podcast, which is on a season hiatus right now. I'm in between seasons 3 and 4 because we have a baby due in just a week or two, and I needed to give myself. I probably won't start season 4 until 2021, until January. That'll give me some time to get comfortable with my new lifestyle with the new baby. But here on beyondnetworkingpodcast.com, if at the top you go to start here, I've got something really cool, something brand new for you, which is an ebook with a companion 1-hour audio experience, and it's called Connect with Anyone, Wisdom from Legends and Leaders. So if you don't have time to listen to a 1-hour podcast each week, but you still want to learn from these unbelievable people I've had on my podcast, like Seth Godin, like Zoe Chance, like TED legend Julian Treasure, the founder of Idealist.org, Ami Dar, So many Gertrude, who was actually on this live stream with us, and so many other incredible people. I had legendary journalist Cal Fussman on the podcast recently. You can head to beyondnetworkingpodcast.com, go to start here, and all you got to do is toss your first name and your email into the box. You will get a 16-page, beautifully designed resource, a PDF about connecting with anyone. And basically, it's not me. It's all of these amazing people who've been on the show. It's them giving. It's their quotes from their episodes of the podcast where they're answering the question, "How do you connect with anyone?" Incredible info. And you also get, when you toss your name and email in there, you also gain access for free to the 1 hour audio experience, which is the ebook, but all of the actual audio snippets from the podcast episodes that they were on. Harshit, great to see you. Just here to support you. I love you, my friend. Thanks so much. Edward, it's always good to see you. Yes, baby on the way. Thank you, Edward, for being here. Always appreciate it. Hope you're well. And so you can head to beyondnetworkingpodcast.com and just click start here. Download this stuff, and then you will get automatically in your email inbox, you will get new episodes of the podcast. Although at the moment I am on a season hiatus, and I will probably occasionally over the next 4 or 5 months in between seasons post Thursday Thoughts episodes that are audio only, maybe some bonus episodes like live streams I've been on, guest spots I've done on other people's podcasts and things like that. But I am going to need to scale back some of my content creation a little bit over the next few months with a baby in the house, which is why I'm queuing up. I wrote 3 blogs today. I have another one to write later today, and then I'm writing a couple more tomorrow. So I'm going to have almost 2 months worth of blogs scheduled in the queue. So when the baby's here, I don't need to worry about writing new blogs every week. I'll do my best to get my videos out on the main channel here for the Thursday Thoughts, as well as my Audio for Content Creators channel. I've already started to queue out Audio for Content Creators videos in advance, and, things like that. Now, if you are watching this and you are a content creator, I want to draw your attention to a private forum, an exclusive forum here on Facebook, just for people like you. And I'm going to see if I can get the, let's see. I'm going to see if I can get the URL right. I believe it's this. If you search for Content Creator Connection, and I'm pretty sure, I'm pretty sure that's actually the URL, but on Facebook, search for Content Creator Connection, and you should get that, that group that I'm, no, hang on. Content Creators Connection? Nope, that's not it. Wait, groups? Hang on. I'll figure out the URL. I know this must be really fun to watch me just struggle to get this right. Oh, okay. I got it right. Yeah, groups/Content Creators Connection. There you go. So head on over there. You can request access to that group, and that is where there's only like 20 of us in there right now. I'm still kind of in beta, and that is... Hey, thanks so much, Ben. There you go. Yes, Edward, on to the next project. Exactly. Harshit, congrats. Thank you so much. I really appreciate that. I assume that's for the baby news. If you head over to Content Creator Connection and request access, I would be thrilled to let you in there. If you make any type of content, if you write blogs, if you are a Pinterester, if you make YouTube videos or podcasts, if you're an Instagram or whatever you do, if you make content for the internet, you can join us. I'm kind of in this small exclusive beta run to see if I can get some good conversations going. And the whole goal of the group is just for us. In fact, let me share. I can probably share that screen actually. Here is the Content Creator Connection. Make better, level up. That's right. Make better, level up. And you will, basically what we're doing is we're having conversations and sharing resources about different types of content that we're making. So you can see that, like, our member Stuart here, he posted about a recent video and he said, ignore the topic of the video itself, and I'm just curious how my audio sounds. I'm testing out some new audio, right? Things like that. We can post in here resources that we've found that are really helpful, and give each other give and receive generous advice, not feedback, but advice in the Content Creator Connection. I'd like to build this out over the next year to a group with thousands of members, all having constant, interactions and finding new collaborations and getting help from each other and just leveling up as a group. But there's only 21 of us right now. I'm trying to keep it small to encourage really intimate, really personal, really good conversations to establish a framework for where the group will go in the future. So go ahead and request access to that group. You are more than welcome to do that. And I think that is about all I've got for today. I need to get back to writing my blogs. So remember, every interaction is meaningful, and every person you meet, even virtually, is important. So have a lovely, lovely day. Be kind to one another. Stay safe. Protect yourself. Protect your community. And always remember, our world is a shared experience. So thanks very much, everybody. I will see you all soon.